Hello YouTube and welcome back to the nation of free to play. I'm Mr. Mondstadt and today we got a new Spiral Abyss for version Lunar 6, and in this video I will talk about the enemy lineup, the best strategies to counter the boss mechanics, and give you my F2P tips and tricks to help you in getting 36 stars on your account. Let's go! First up, what are the enemies? In 12.1.1 we have to face the Praetorian Golem. Not the boss, but the elite enemy. Sounds easy at first, but we don't have to face one, not two, but 12 of these golems, and since all of them will have a Geo shield, this is actually no joke and you are definitely advised to bring Geo, but more on that later. In the second half we get 3 Tenebrous Mimics, so these small Papilla enemies who will mimic a normal overworld opponent. Just like the Papilla, you will have to break their shields, and Nightsoul characters are strongly recommended. In the second chamber, the devs brought back some of our favorite enemies, the Wilderness Hunters. Luckily this time there are not 4 but only 2 of them, but they are still tanky enough. On the other side we have to deal with an Eremite followed by the Maguu Kenki. And in the last chamber, the Radiant Moongecko gives its Abyss debut. This one is also featured in the current Imaginary Theater and the new Stygian Onslaught, where it has really left an impact. I'm not a fan, but I will do my best to find workarounds against this boss without Zubai and Linnea. And the last fight is against the Papilla. So we have the best shill out of 2 nations combined in this Spiral Abyss. Yay! What are the blessings? Lunar-crystallize damage is increased by 75% on the first side, and the active character's normal and charge attack damage is increased by 75% on the second half. With Linnea and Chaska currently on banner, this makes a lot of sense. Who should you play? The first half is tailor-made for Lunar-crystallize 5 stars, so if you have Linnea or Zubai, this Abyss will feel rather easy. If not, well, Columbina is one of the best supports you could bring, especially since you need Ascendant Gleam against the Wild Hunt enemies. Therefore, I would strongly recommend 2 nod-krai units, at least for the second chamber. If you have Bina, Navia, Itto or even a C6 Noel might be enough to deal with the DPS requirements, as Lunar-crystallize will be buffed by the Abyss blessings. Illua and Aino are decent 4-star options who will help your party as well. If you don't have any nod-krai 5 stars by now, this half is way harder. Your best bet is probably to bring your strongest team and try to brute force everything, but with 12 Geo shields and the Moongecko this will be tough. Mavuika Sharu's Overload team with good builds and gameplay might be able to clear as well, as Overload is pretty good at breaking Geo shields. Also against the Radiant Beast, you also want to bring a healer in order to out-heal the Radiant debuff. Otherwise you would try to dodge the Gecko's attack, which is kinda tricky. For the second side, Natlan 5 stars are generally your best bet with all the Nightsoul enemies. So Mualani, Kinich, Mavuika, Varessa and Chaska should all be able to defeat them rather easily and even benefit from the Abyss blessing. But even without Natlan carries you should be fine. I expect the Lunar characters to have enough elemental hits to break the Nightsoul shields as well. Arlecchino Overload should also do, Skirk might be able to brute force in her best teams, and if nothing else works for you, Pyro MC can break the shields on their own. Hyper Bloom is also a way to trigger enough elemental hits. Oh, and burning of course, especially with Amelie. You see, the second half should not really be the main issue in this Spiral Abyss. With this general advice out of the way, let's have a closer look at each individual chamber. 12.1.1. In this chamber we have to fight 12 golems in waves of 2. The goal should be to hit both of them on field, otherwise it will add up to be a lot of total HP. So some form of AoE is useful and single target is not the best idea. The main challenge of these enemies is not their HP or their attacks, but their Geo shields. As long as they are protected by the shields, their resistance against all elements is increased from the normal 10 to 60%. If you have enough Rash Red in your party, you can probably brute force them even without breaking the shield, so Doran, Xelonen or Sharus are good options. If you want to break them without Geo characters, your best bet will be the Overload reaction or blunt attacks, so Claymores. If you are looking for 4-star units, I expect a C6 Gaming or Noel to deal with these opponents as well, provided you have some good supports for them. To be fair, there is not too much else you need to know about this chamber, so let's move on to 12-1-2. On the second half we have to tackle 3 Papilla Mimics, so the smaller versions of the big boss. One of them will mimic a Natlan Warrior, one a Hilichurl Rogue, and one the Secret Source Automaton Hunter Seeker. However, the enemies they mirror are not too important to deal with this Natlan lineup. Instead, all of these Papilla offsprings will have a Void Ward that protects them from taking damage until it's destroyed. This Void Ward, or let's call it Nightsoul Shield, has different values depending on the enemy. The Natlan Warrior Mimic has a value of 40, the Hilichurl of 70 and the Hunter Seeker of 105. This means that you need more hits to break the last Mimic's shield. And yes, in that case the number of elemental hits you have to deal is 105. If your character is in the Nightsoul's Blessing state though, one elemental hit counts as 3 instead of 1, which is why Natlan characters are much faster at breaking these wards. So if you have some Natlan units on your account, any of them should be able to deal with this Abyss floor. However, if you skip Natlan or simply don't have any of the 5 stars from the Pyro Nation build, there are other strategies as well. This Abyss side is actually pretty decent for Hyperbloom teams, especially if you have Lauma on your account. Yelan or Xingqiu with Nahida, Collei or Cookie apply a lot of elemental hits and should be able to clear this lineup pretty quickly. If you have Emily or simply want to play Burning, this will also work as the Burning reaction applies a lot of elemental hits. Lastly, Overload with Pyro MC or C6 Fischl will also work even without Mawika or Varessa as the carries. As annoying as the Papilla enemies look at first glance, they are actually not as restrictive as you might think, and once you've dealt with their wards, killing them should not be the issue. And even if you can't defeat them before they get their shield back, the next time around you won't have to apply as many elemental hits to break them again, so there you go. 12-2-1. Now back to the shill side of this Abyss. In the second chamber we have to fight 2 Wild Hunt enemies, and by now you're probably familiar with their shill mechanics. The good news is that the devs only gave us 2 this time and not 4 like a few weeks ago. Still, you really want your party to be in Ascendant Gleam against these enemies. Why? Well, the Wild Hunt members have 2 HP bars, a red one and a grey one. The grey one indicates their max HP, while the red one shows their actual current HP. The problem is that the enemies will always heal back up to their max HP once you've depleted the red bar, meaning you have to deplete their max HP to 0 in order to kill them. This state is called the Grief-Stricken state, and the enemies will enter that state every time you've depleted their red HP bar. Without Ascendant Gleam, this is very difficult, as you basically have to kill them 3 to 4 times in practice, and since there are 2 in this chamber, that turns out to be a lot of HP. Therefore, the DPS requirements are pretty high, and if you want to brute force this chamber without any nod-krai units, you would need a very well invested team. If you are in Ascendant Gleam though, all of this does not apply to you, as you will directly attack their max HP, so the grey bar. This means that you only have to kill them once and their effective HP will be only 30%, and with that, your DPS requirements go down as well. The good news is that you do not need any 5 stars from nod-krai for that. I know Illua and Yahoda will also provide you with Ascendant Gleam, but of course things get easier if you happen to have Bina, for example. Still, Aina was given for free and Yahoda will be given for free in the Lunar 6 event, so you could technically just use the 2 of them and bring some good damage along, and you will be able to defeat the Wild Hunt. Also, bear in mind that you can switch teams and still get 36 stars. While Geo is recommended for 12-1 and 12-3, the Wild Hunt does not care about the elements you bring, so you could get your max stars in 12-1 and 12-3 with one team and then come back with another lineup and Ascendant Gleam for 12-2. 12-2-2. The other half is less restrictive, once again with one Eremite and the Maguu Kenki. For those two enemies, anything goes. The Maguu Kenki has some annoying attack patterns, especially when it comes to his teleportation skills, but other than that, there is little you need to know. 12-3-1. Now it is finally time for a new Abyss boss, and this one is worth talking about, the Radiant Moongecko. This beast is currently in all forms of endgame, and it shows you that this is the shilled boss of this patch. But how does it work? At the start of the fight, the gecko will summon its moon anchor in the center of the arena and create a dome. It will climb up that dome, and your job is now to break the anchor. This anchor is basically a construct with a geo shield that is divided into 9 segments. Geo attacks, lunar-crystallize and blunt attacks are the fastest way to break all these wards, which is your main goal. If you fail to break them, the gecko will unleash a powerful attack, and you will also lose a lot of time. After you break the 3rd and 6th segment of the Geo ward, the boss will take 4% of its max HP as true damage and even 12% once the ward is completely destroyed. It will then be stunned for 7 seconds, and in this time window you can deal as much damage as possible. This is not the only mechanic of the gecko though. Since this is a radiant beast, it will also apply the radiant cocoon effect onto your characters. If you see this little red symbol above your HP bar, then your units are affected by this curse. Your crit rate will be decreased by 100%, your damage bonus by 50% and your healing bonus by 40%. In order to get rid of that effect, you need to heal to max HP, and if you do so, you will then get a buff in the form of 15% crit rate and 50% damage bonus. Also, once your unit reaches max HP, the gecko's carapace will no longer glow. That indicates the beast's geo resistance. When the carapace glows golden, its geo res is 70%, but when it's dull, then it is reduced to 10%. The Radiant Cocoon is why you want to bring a healer against this boss, and by healer, a prototype Amber or Bennett is not enough. Since you need to heal to full HP, ideally on all party members, a party-wide healer is recommended. Linnea is once again the best option, but other units like Celonen, Noelle, Jean or Charlotte can also out-heal the debuff. If you don't want to do that, there should be a way to dodge the debuff attack as well, but that's usually pretty tricky. Personally, I did not learn that, but if it is possible for the gecko at all, I'm sure you can find a tutorial on YouTube as well. Anyways, that is all you need to know about the Radiant Moongecko. 12-3-2. Last but not least, we have to fight the Papilla, and this time it is the actual boss version. The one in this Spiral Abyss is the Type 2 variation, which means the boss will mimic the Maguu Kenki, Primo Geo Bishop, as well as the Cryo, Hydro and Electro Hypostasis. If you get hit, you will take big chunks of damage, so bringing a healer or shieler is gonna make your life easier. The Void Ward of the Papilla has a value of 72, which means you will need 72 elemental hits in order to break it. If you fail to do so, the Papilla will unleash a powerful attack, most likely one-shotting your active character. Again, Nightsoul aligned attacks count as 3 hits. The same rules apply as in 12-1, Nutland units are advised, followed by Hyperloom, Burning or Overload. The base resistance of the boss is 70% against every element, but after you've broken the ward and the Papilla is paralyzed, the rest goes down to 0%. After recovery, the rest will stay at 35%. 70% is pretty big without proper rest strat, but with the right units you will still deal damage. Overall, while the Papilla is still annoying, it is one of the less shilled bosses by today's standard, as there are many ways around the enemy's mechanics. And with that, I am more or less done for the day. This version of Spiral Abyss is definitely harder than the last one, and especially the first sight is selling Linnea a lot. The combination of Ascendant Gleam, Geo attacks and strong healing does not allow for too much experimentation, which is unfortunate, but do keep in mind that you can always switch teams to meet the requirements of the specific chamber. Of course, Linnea and or Zabai will make this Abyss feel like a joke, but don't feel forced to pull just because of the current endgame situation. The second side is overall pretty fun, as there is some Nightsoul shill, but you also have enough alternative teams available and can play any element. Also, the Abyss Blessing is useful for basically any DPS, so that's a nice bonus as well. I hope this video helps you in getting 36 stars on your account, and if so, please leave a like and consider subscribing. It's free and really helps me out, so thanks. Also, if you have any more questions about this Abyss, who you should play, or anything else Genshin related, leave a comment down below and I will try to answer as many as possible. With that, thanks again for watching and I will see you in the next video. Bye!